Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
You know what? We're not goofing around. Let's just get into it. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk a little bit about the October Lull.
I said before the podcast, we only got to say the word, that word, one time. That word is like the yips in golf. You just don't say the word.
Yeah.
You just it's out there.
Yeah.
But we don't need to give it any gravitas. We don't need to give it any more. We don't give it any more gumption. We want to calm that storm down.
Yeah, so we'll just talk a little bit about what we've seen this October.
We're going to call it the October.
Yeah. Which it's funny
I
because
was excited about that sound effect.
I mean, we talked about this yesterday a little bit. I feel like there's a lot of people that talk about this, and this is a pretty popular topic this time of year, obviously.
He's referring to the October.
But I think it's funny, though, because it doesn't...
Dude, you're like iron. You're like an iron wall. I'm really trying to get you to acknowledge the noise, and you're talking right through it. You're just not even having it. Why don't you like the noise, the sound effect? It brings a dynamic to the pod.
I don't know.
Go ahead. You say the first part.
Which part?
The month.
October.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was either that or the October.
Yeah. Those crickets going for a really long time.
We're not even halfway.
There it is.
There we go. No, we were past halfway. Yeah. No, you're right. It is talked about a lot, and we've all been seeing it. And it definitely feels like whether it's real or whether it's not, it's funny because if you really held a gun to my head, I probably would say it's not really real.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's not. It's just something that we always go, well, you know what time of year it is.
Feels like an excuse sometimes.
Yeah. It's a 1,000-foot crutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the best way you could put it. It's just a crutch. It's an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. Yeah. When in Rome? Well, it's the October.
Yeah. But I think it's like, I think we had a really good conversation about this, obviously off the pod, but I feel like it's, for the guy that has 500 acres of private, he can set it up exactly how he wants. He probably doesn't see too much of a lull.
Yes.
But for guys like me and you, we have a couple of permission spots, hunted mainly public. I think it makes it just a little bit tougher just because a lot of how these farms set up, we don't have any say in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before, and I don't know if this is the right way to say it or not, but almost like equal opportunity hunting, meaning if you're, like you said, if you're the guy that's got your own land that you own and you've put the time in and you've got food plots and you've got bedding area and you've got water and more power to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's not that you and I don't have that opportunity. We just have chose not to do that. Like I've not invested in land. I've bought other things or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so it's not that there's a knock to that. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we hunt, right or wrong, very fortunate to have some permission pieces, but like I said, and we have a couple good public spots. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of say. Now, could I push the envelope with a guy and be like, hey, is there any way that I could cut in a food plot right here? Or could I get you to maybe, like, what would it cost me to, like, not have you farm this little point right here and then could I put, some whatever in here? You know what I mean? Like, could I put something that'll grow and I'll take care of it and it won't get in your way and I'll fence it off and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is like, we just don't have a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the woods that we hunt and the timber and the ground that we hunt is conducive to the whitetail rut.
Yeah, definitely. It's very transition type.
Yes,
feels
exactly.
Like.
Yep, it's field edge.
Yeah,
it's hunting a pinch point or a funnel or off a dynamic trail where they're coming through to go to a bedding area.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and then in the rut when just everything breaks loose, you want to be in the woods. We've got those spots too.
Exactly. Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think just to preface. It's I just feel like this time of year, obviously bucks aren't on their feet as much. They're not traveling as much. And so for a guy with a lot of, private land, I think the spot to be right now is a food source that's really close to bedding. Because, I mean, they're still animals. They still need to get up and eat and drink and do their thing. So if you can get up tight to a piece of bedding that's, close to some food, I think you might have some real luck. But if you don't,
well, and
might be a little tough.
I had that conversation with my buddy Danny Ferris the other day. Good friend of mine. We used to work together in Colorado, and we were talking about ozonics on the Hoyt podcast, which is really cool. And just talking about, they had lots of cool questions, and there was a kind of his like co-host guy named Evan. He had a lot of questions kind of as a newer ozonics user, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
We went through a whole bunch of different stuff, and we got to talking about, obviously, oh man, you're in Iowa. How are things going? We're talking about, and I said, geez, oh Pete, it's been just, it feels like everything's in slow motion here. It just does not feel, it just feels so slow. And I'm like, the weird thing is this time last year, it was on like Donkey Kong. And the crazy thing is, you hear everybody say, and we say it too, cold front in October. Well, we got that like the 9th, 10th of October last year.
Yeah.
Well, we got a cold front this year on like what, the 13th, 14th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah.
So it was just a couple days after. And, it just didn't seem to have the effect.
No.
And when I've been out, and like I was telling Danny and Evan, I was like, man, dude, I've seen a few rubs in one spot, but that's it. Yeah. Small, itty bitty little, you know what I mean? And you can't find a scrape for nothing. Yeah. At least we can't on the permission in public places. And we've got cameras out.
Yeah.
We've got cameras out where they need to be for the fall.
Yeah.
And we're just not seeing anything. It's just, and if we are now, I shouldn't say we're not seeing anything. We've had 3 target bucks, 2 that we were aware of.
Yep.
And World Traveler's back, by the way.
Which is huge.
Wrong noise. Sorry. Don't know where I'm at. Woo! World Traveler's back.
Yeah.
But so we've got the bucks. Like they're there, but it's middle of the night, which is, again, it's this part of October.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I said, yeah, God, it just feels like we're just, I don't know what's going on. It's just slow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Danny made a comment. I think it couldn't have said it any better. He goes, you know what? He goes, from my perspective, he goes, I hate October. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you. And it's funny because I have like friends that have only been out once.
Yeah.
Like I talked to a guy the other day. He's like, oh yeah, dude, I've only been out once. Like I haven't even thought about it.
Right.
We talked to a guy at lunch today and I haven't even gone.
Yeah.
Just literally went out and cut a couple lanes. Like I probably won't even start till like the 25th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I get that. But it's funny thing, what Danny said, he said it so well, is he's like, he's like, I hate the month of October. And he goes, these whitetails, especially these mature bucks, he goes, if they could bed down and they could look over their left shoulder and eat grass and look over their right shoulder and drink water, he goes, they'd never move.
Yeah.
He goes, and the reality is that these whitetails, especially these big mature deer, they find a hole.
Yeah.
And you're never going to find it because guess what? They just dig themselves deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
Now, if you can get yourself in on that spot, if you can find that hole of where that whitetail buck is holed up, then you're in business.
Right.
And it's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
If you have a camera and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there he is.
Yeah.
And you're seeing him, and if he is daylighting and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Well, then you're right inside that bubble.
Yeah.
Or if you've got something where you can get right up a bedding, really close to a food plot or where he may be feeding and you can get in between.
Yeah.
And we've seen a few deer on social media that have fallen that look like they were like literally right over a food plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The deer that always comes to mind for me is, it was just, and I don't know why, but it just was such a crazy looking deer, was that Gnarls Barkley that Lee Lakoski shot years and years ago over a food plot early in October.
Yep.
And I don't know Lee personally, right? But like you see him kill a lot of big deer early.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah.
He's got a tag already filled by mid-October, it seems like the last few years, right? Which is awesome. More power to him.
Yeah.
But so like you said, if you can find that spot, if you can really get in there, then you can really be in business. But if you don't, it just seems like as soon as they shed their velvet, they're trying to find that deep, dark spot where they can just eat, sleep, drink, repeat.
Yeah.
Eat, sleep, drink, repeat, and never be bothered
Yeah.
until all of a sudden those does start to come in and this testosterone gets high enough and they're like, okay, days are short
Time to
enough.
go.
Time to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Does that make
definitely.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, I mean, we're here saying that the cold front was, which it wasn't what we expected.
It wasn't what it was expected for us.
Yeah. But I will say, though, I mean, we had new bucks show up, you know.
Well, look at what we talked. Look at what we went. We went to Taco Tico today. Ran into a buddy of ours, and he's like, "Hey, you guys been out?" Yeah, man. It just feels like it's really slow. And he goes, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Man, I got a buddy that was out on the cold front on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Saw a great buck chasing a doe. Bucky. It sounded like a buck he would have shot.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, but either that same person or somebody else had a buck dog and a doe. He's like, yeah, he was really, really excited and super stoked about the activity he saw.
Yeah.
Like, man, dude, I haven't seen anything close to that by us.
Yeah, exactly.
On any of the cameras and anywhere we've been, we haven't seen anything that resembles the rut.
Yeah.
Which, again, it is only, mid-October?
Yeah. I mean, we do have one camera in public that's on a really nice scrape, and that is where the bucks showed up for the most part. Actually, one of them was a buck that we had last year. Well, we think. Not 100% sure. He looks very similar.
Yeah, it looks very similar. Number 9.
Yeah, number 9. My boy. But
Didn't you name him like 9 Johnson?
no, that's Scrape Johnson. He was number like 44. But
9 Johnson.
no, Scrape Johnson. But
you and
that's
Johnson. You should get sponsored with Johnsonville Brats.
yeah.
We have had one camera that has gotten more buck activity than the rest, and it's on a scrape that we did find, right? We've talked about this before. If you find good scrapes early, you can kind of count on like, hey, community scrape is probably going to be here. And that's where we have seen some good bucks. Now, again, it's all been pretty late, and that's where we got number 9.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it was kind of cool. It was a scrape that I found last spring, and then it was the first one that opened up this fall. So, I mean, me and Cole were talking, we're like, oh, that's probably one that we should put a camera on, but it's different than anything we had last year.
Yeah.
So,
and the spots that we had great scrapes last year, it's like they're not even looking at it. They're not even stopping.
Yeah, they're just
they're just not there.
Which maybe it's because we hung that camera earlier than we did last year. I mean, maybe they're there now. I mean, we haven't checked them in a while, but
but like I don't know. It's just puzzling.
Yeah.
And that's like what I was talking about that with Danny the other day, you know. It's interesting because he's a Colorado guy, right? He born and raised in Colorado, hunting elk and mule deer and black bear and all that stuff. And you'd think being a Western guy, like that would be his real thing.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's like, man, dude, there's something about whitetails.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
But it was funny because we got to talking about that, and I just think that was, I made a comment. I go, you know, it's interesting because if you start really thinking about it, and you look at like the North American big game animals, there's 29 North American big game animals that is recognized by Pope and Young. That doesn't include like a wolf, right? Because it's the animals that are harvestable with the bow that are recognized and blah, 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 right? That's not a wolf. But anyway, that would be cool if you could shoot a wolf, or if you did shoot a wolf with a bow. But if you think about all the North American 29, you always hear people talk about elk as the kings of the high country. You know, they live in the darkest, deepest, highest, on the tops of the mountains and in the wallows, and they're deep, dark, and they only let you see them like on their terms, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is you can go out west and you can like climb up to the top of the mountain and you can spend time out there and you can see those elk, I feel like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's bizarre when you start to really think about whitetails, how incredibly skitty and how incredibly elusive they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I made the comments like, you'd think that if you just spent enough time, like if you're like, okay, I don't care about hunting at all, but I want to see a 180-inch whitetail, and you just walked around for days on end, for a month, and just gridded stuff off and just kept walking, you would bump one.
Yeah.
Because you could cover all the country, but they figure out a way to not be seen.
Right.
Like, it's insane to think about, like, some of these public land spots, we had 40 some bucks on camera last year, and we've only seen a couple so far. Yeah. It's like, well, where are they? There's no corn left. Like all the corn's out. It's just incredible to think that they can figure out a way to not get in front of the cameras, to avoid the pressure,
right?
To go where we don't know. It's like, I feel like there's so much about whitetails that we still don't really know. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but I feel like it's like when you hear them talk about, great whites, they're like, well, we don't entirely know like where they go and how they do what they do. I feel like there's a lot of that with whitetails.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they evade recognition so much? Like, how is it even possible? Like, and I feel like that's what we're in right now.
Yeah.
You cover the ground and you're out there and you're in a tree stand. You'd think you get the wind right, everything else, just not there.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah. It's been a very interesting year.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's like a mind blow for me when I think about that. Yeah.
But yeah, like Cole said earlier, World Traveler's back, which is really cool. He was a deer that I think we were both super excited about during the summer. And then August 28th was the last time we had him.
In velvet.
And then...
and we were like, oh, man, I wonder if he's going to... Like, obviously in velvet, they always look really massive. And you're like, oh, man, I wonder what he's going to look like when he sheds.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't let down much.
Yeah, he looks super good.
If he was going 110, he's kind of throttling it like 102 now.
Yeah.
He didn't let much go.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looks really
Which
good.
I'm really excited about because actually just the other day I was just like looking through pictures just on my phone for fun. I actually found a picture of World Traveler last year and it was like mid-August 20th, like same kind of time period. And then we never had him. Yeah. Then all of a sudden he showed back up and he was there. Yeah, I mean, he was pretty consistent during the rut, so hopefully it'll be the same thing this year.
Well, I kind of feel like last year especially kind of showed us that, we were in his home range.
Yeah.
Right? You've heard me say this before. I feel like as a whitetail gets older, his home range gets smaller, and I feel like their home range right now, I honestly feel like is the smallest this time of year, September, first half of October. And we've gotten fortunate enough that we still have him on camera. And so we're in where he wants to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it just feels like I feel like if there's one buck that we have, if you were to say which bucks we have the best opportunity with, I kind of feel like him.
Yeah.
Because you
totally
see
agree.
him and you're like, and you see him with younger deer and you're like, okay, in this group, you're the man. Mm-hmm. It's not that they're like, we've got Gas out there and him and Gas got together and I'm pretty sure Gas wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He's the type that, World Traveler's the type of deer that he's not 6 years old. Mm-mm. He's probably 4.5.
Yeah.
And so he's smart enough, but in the same regard, he's making himself out there.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can just figure out a way to catch him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dog and a doe, just all of a sudden we get to the November in the teens, or we get, even before all of that, we get into the pre-rut. When everything all of a sudden starts to heat up, the bucks are ready to dance, but the does are still sitting over on the side drinking punch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's when I feel like that's kind of when we saw him the most, was that kind of pre-rut stage, it seemed like.
Yep, and then I saw him that one time late when he came down the edge.
Yep.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's, but yeah, like I said, for us in north central Iowa, so far the rut has been, it's not even really the rut. It's just, we're deer hunting. And honestly, it's fine. Like, I mean, you know me, I'm on doe patrol all the time. So I'm looking for does too. And so that works great for me.
Yeah.
But like I said, it'd be awesome to, and again, when we had that cold front, that's, I think, where we were kind of like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
here we go.
Good.
And we had high pressure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't work out like that.
Yeah.
For us, it didn't, but it sounded like for other guys, they had some luck.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You just never know. Like, the moral of the story all the time is put yourself in the woods whenever you can. Again, obviously trying to be smart. You're not trying to like put too much pressure on spots, which I think we've done a good job of managing that too. You know what I mean? And we've really only been hunting really one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to try a different spot tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yep. Just do like a morning hunt. And that's the other thing with ozonics. And obviously this is our busiest time of year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked about this before. If you love to hunt, you want to hunt all the time, don't be a taxidermist. Don't work for any state wildlife agency. don't work in any type of job with hunting,
Yeah.
or be a farmer.
Right. Yeah.
This year be conducive to be a farmer because most guys are done.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to sneak out. So our time has been, mornings here and there.
Yeah.
Afternoons, which is like, this is a great time, not afternoons. We just haven't been able to.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, no, it's a really, really fun time of year. It's, I was joking about, I really wanted to use the song, The Final Countdown, because I feel like that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's just like, we're just waiting.
Oh yeah.
It's coming. It's going to be here before we know it, honestly.
Yeah. Cause what is today?
18th.
Today's the 18th. Mm-hmm. Holy guacamole.
Yeah.
So when this podcast airs, it's the 20-something.
21st.
21st. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And then 10 days after that is Halloween.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be here.
Crazy. We're only, a little over 2 weeks into the season, but it feels like it's flying by.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that it's already 20th of October.
Well, not only that, but the thing that's really bizarre to me, and I think across the state of Iowa, I was down in Des Moines just yesterday taking stuff to our warehouse, and there is not many fields left.
Yeah.
There's a lot of years that it's early, mid-November, and there's still a ton of corn out there.
Yeah.
And we always say it like, oh man, there's still a lot of corn in. It's just that's an artificial forest that they can just live in.
Yeah.
And those are all gone.
Yeah.
It's, we're definitely starting to hone down where these deer, they're not going to where if you're sitting on a field edge and there's a big cornfield, like they could be anywhere out there. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You look at them now, they're not there.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's necking them down where they're wanting to bed up and where they're wanting to hole up. And so hopefully that helps. And like I said, on the optimistic side, we're way farther along this year than we have been in years past.
Way farther.
Way farther.
A lot of them really good rut hunts we had last year, there was still corn up.
Yep, absolutely.
And that was the one I remember the most was on November 4th. And he had just taken out the hedgerows.
I know. That was crazy. I know it's crazy. It's bizarre to think back to that and to think about now how there's just like around here, there's very little left.
Yeah. Yep. But then again, last year when that first cold front hit and we saw that nice one, that big one, the hedgerows were out on that field. And that was October 10th.
Yeah. That guy's always like, right. He's always out. Really always right on top. And that makes sense because that's on a real high spot.
Yeah.
So it's always a lot drier. So he gets out there a lot earlier and then it's ready a lot sooner. So he's always out there like right away. I actually saw he mowed all that down too.
Oh, really?
He mowed it down to nothing.
Yeah.
There ain't a stalk left out there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. He was actually out there the other night mowing it down. I was like, I rubbernecked. I'm like, whoa, hey. I don't think he did that last year.
No,
it's mowed.
He did. Yeah.
Well, and again, that's the thing. That's like my brother-in-law. He does a little farming on the side. And I'm like, so how are you coming? He's like, we're done. Like, we're done combine and everything. I'm like, he goes, yeah, we got a lot of time for extra stuff. He's like, so yeah, we'll probably work some fields that maybe we usually wouldn't do until the spring. And I think a lot of guys doing that. Well, hey, let's get that out. Yeah. You know what I mean? We got some time, It's
dry.
It's dry, might as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. It is so dang dry, to completely switch gears here. You have talked to me more about this than I really keep track of it, but the EHD is rearing its head.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And,
seems like.
And man, you just hear you talked about what they talked about on their Midwest Whitetail podcast about what some of those guys are going through.
Yeah.
Man, and we talked to Jay Selly about that, and there's more accurate reporting this year. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm super
to
curious.
See how that all turns out. It's kind of a major bummer.
Yeah, with how dry it is, it's not good for that.
Yeah,
at all.
It's
crazy.
It's interesting because I made this comment the other day that sometimes I kind of feel like with all this stuff happening with EHD and CWD, that we may be, if it was a bell curve, beginning the peak and then after, we may be on the other side of the bell curve of like the golden age of Iowa whitetail hunting. I mean, maybe that's a bold statement. And I think if Jace was sitting right here, he'd be like, well, and he said it. He goes, well, don't underestimate. They're a very resilient animal.
Yeah.
You give them a couple years, they bounce back, right? We've
right.
got great genetics here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of habitat, and these animals will bounce back.
Yeah.
And he said, we don't want to jump to conclusions. We don't have to
Right.
jump to rash decisions where all of a sudden we're like, oh, cut doe tags and do this. And that's not always the right thing. So I think if I said that to him, he'd be like, well, hold on a second. But in the same breath, there's a lot of what's happening with EHD and CWD
Yeah.
that, from my perspective, again, I'm not a biologist, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's rearing its head and it's popping up, and a lot of places are like, whoa, that's happening there.
Right.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I feel like in the next 5 years, all of a sudden, we could talk to somebody and go, hey, man, I heard you guys got EHD up there now. Oh, yeah, we do. You know, and all of a sudden, does it just spread? Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, are we having a problem?
Yeah.
You know, and that's just, I don't know. I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic. I think the thing that's tough about it is there's so many variables to it.
Yes.
If we have rain like we did all summer, and it keeps doing that,
Probably have a
all the way till now,
whole different conversation.
whole different conversation, I think. So I think it's hard to make a judgment off of that just because like weather plays such a big part. It's so hard to say that we're on the opposite side of the bell curve, especially just because it feels like Iowa's just so good.
Yeah, but
I guess what I'm saying is it could be worse than years prior, but like it's still Iowa. It's still the same really good habitat. Like I think it's going to be able to hold its own. I feel, especially just with how like what Jay said, they're super resilient. We have the habitat for them to grow and get big and be comfortable living here. And I think there's other things to go along with that too. You know, if like look at like population. You know, if there was huge cities popping up everywhere and development's going everywhere, then it might be tough. I saw that in Wisconsin, where I used to hunt in Wisconsin. It was awesome, but then there's developments going up everywhere, and it just kind of got worse and worse. But around here, it just feels like, I don't know. It's tough to say, and maybe I'm not the right person to talk about it because I've only been hunting here for 2 years.
yeah.
But
No, I mean, everybody's got their own perspective. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I feel like it's interesting because I'm 40 and I've been hunting in Iowa since I was basically a teenager. You know what I mean? You're like 12, 13 years old, right? And so it's interesting because I feel like I really saw when Iowa had such a huge population that was way too many deer.
Yeah.
You know, and then the state of Iowa like really, really cut it down to more of a manageable number of whatever we're at right now, like 150 to 200,000, 180,000 deer-ish or whatever. And I've seen as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid going and knocking on doors and asking for bow hunting permission and people being like, you want to do what? You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, and, you know, watching real tree monster bucks on VHS, you know, and then watching I don't know what you call it, the just surge of bow hunting popularity.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And when I talk to guys that are like the people that I know that are in their 50s and 60s that were farther along when I was 20, you know what I mean? They were 40 and they felt like I looked up to them and they really had a handle on it and they hunted Southern Iowa. When you hear guys talk about like, oh yeah, man, even when the beginning of trail cams and they would have multiple big deer on camera.
Yeah.
Now I feel like what you hear a lot more of guys talk about it, like, yeah, we've got like one target buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, is that maybe because the age in the year 2000 was guys were looking to shoot a 3.5, and now guys, you hear people like, oh yeah,
exactly.
I don't shoot anything unless it's 5.5 plus. It's like, jeez.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So I'm playing devil's advocate even as I'm saying this, but you know what I mean? It's an interesting thought. Like I said, I hope that we're not on the other side of the bell curve. I hope that EHD doesn't really knock all this back, and I hope that CWD doesn't knock it all back. But I do feel like you said there's such a randomness and there's so much variables that it just seems like you heard Jay say, he's like, yeah, man, like some of that stuff kind of makes me lose sleep at night.
Yeah,
because we don't have like all the answers.
No,
like we're still trying to figure this out, and that's the scary thing.
Yeah,
it's almost like you know. I grew up in the 90s when AIDS and HIV and AIDS became a thing. And I remember as a kid, them telling us like it's an incurable disease. And we're like, what? You get this disease and there's no cure.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you just eventually die. And it was like, you thought it felt like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe for me, when I see EHD and distributed, in my brain, it's like, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, and then you hear smart people like, we're still trying to figure that out. It's like, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know?
I mean, from your perspective, does it feel different?
Does Iowa feel different?
Yeah, take like the last, say, 5-10 years to the 5-10 years prior to that. Does it feel different to you from the kind of hunting you do?
You know, I feel like I see less deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I hunt like what Jace would call like pockets, right? And we've talked to these biologists or conservation officers like, oh yeah, there's a real good pocket here, pocket here. And I've gravitated towards that, right?
Yeah.
But dude, I remember, so like it's 2024, let's say 2024, 2014, 2004.
Yeah.
In 2004, dude, you could drive around. I grew up in Belmont, Iowa.
Yeah.
I remember driving around in the wintertime, even in the fall, late fall, and driving by a field and seeing hundreds of deer. Hundreds. Like it was like you drive by a field and it was like it's burned into my memory. I remember driving north of Belmont on Highway 69 or down by Lake Cornelia, and you drive by fields and there'd be hundreds of deer on the field.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it was funny at the time, we were just like, oh, there they are. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. And in 2014, we were getting on the other side of that, you know, and then it was like, there just wasn't as many,
Right.
you know, and there was a few really tough winters, you know, there.
Yeah.
And then it just felt like there was still deer out there, but there just wasn't near as many.
Right.
And now I feel like we're more at a managed population.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I feel like we're better than we were 10 years ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
As in too much.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like I'm just going based off of the number of deer is what I'm going off, but was part of it.
Yeah.
You just could go out in the woods and you saw a ton of deer.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of deer. You know? And from my perspective, a lot of deer means more opportunity. Now, is that best for the resource? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is that great for the highways and the interstates and insurance companies and everybody else that doesn't want to hit deer and doesn't want to have to put money into getting their car fixed?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And is it good for the farmer that's seeing crop damage and going, well, this is affecting my way of life? I get it.
Right.
So I feel like there's a better balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I just feel like in the way that it's different for me. And again, like that's probably the biggest thing that's different too, is just the way that we funnel information. Because dude, in 2004, we didn't have YouTube videos that were about guys hunting the day before.
Yeah.
Do you follow me? In 2004, dude, I had a flip phone that my mom made me buy my own cell phone plan, and she was pissed. I had to sign a 2-year contract. I never signed a contract before.
Yeah.
It was a Samsung. Well, before that, it was a Nokia. And then I had a Samsung flip phone. And like, that's the way it was. Like you texted, you went, if you wanted to say hello, you went 4444-33 5555 5555 666 to say hello.
Yeah.
Now you're like, say hello. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's like the way that information is with social media and all this stuff, it's just like so fast. We all know what everyone's doing all the
Right.
time, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know Drake Lamb hardly at all, but I see him on Midwest Whitetail, and I know some guy that Drake Lamb knows shot a giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? He posts something like nobody's more serious about habitat.
Yeah.
Great job. Whatever your name, Skippy or Skip or something. It said, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And it was like this giant, like it's an absolute
huge
yeah,
buck.
big old split on his left side, just an absolute like ramp, just like a little toad, you know. I don't know that guy, but I'm like, well, something's going on down there.
Yeah.
But like 20 years ago, you didn't know that.
Right.
You know, if you called your buddy that lived in Des Moines, you're like, hey man, how's it going? You had to have a conversation. You couldn't text people, and it's just like crazy. Like, so I think that's probably part of the biggest change too.
Yeah.
And I maybe that's where I'm more sensitive to it because I saw it the way it was kind of before.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely.
And I know what I saw before just myself was a lot of deer out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, something else. That's a really good question. Look at you, dude. I'm telling you what, I don't know what it is, but I am really goofed up today. I can tell. I've been drinking a little Dr. Pepper, so I'm a little charged up. I've been running really hard, haven't I?
Yes.
Okay. So I said I was going to do this. I feel like what I feel like right now, like my mind and my body and just my general speed is like this. And I have to keep this speed up because if you slow down at all, you notice it, right?
Yeah,
but if
you get a little sleepy.
yeah, so if I go like this, that sounds normal.
Okay.
See? But if I slow down, I just crash. So I gotta keep the speed up, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I was doing stuff last night. I was working till 1:30, baby. Got home at 2:15, took a shower, then I wasn't tired. So I watched a little ESPN, catch up on the Mets Dodgers, which go Mets, come on tonight. By the time this podcast is aired, the Mets have probably made it to the World Series. Just putting that out there in the stratosphere. What do you call that? Manifestation? I'm manifesting destiny there.
Yeah.
And dude, I cannot believe that Georgia lost. If I just predicted the future, ask me for the lotto numbers. And you know what else? Alabama beat Alabama beat Tennessee. Wow.
Yep.
Their quarterback ran for 2 touchdowns. Wow.
Be crazy.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's what happened. If you're a sports bettor, put it in.
Yeah.
This is Ozonics Advisors right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Other thing that was really cool that happened, which other thing I want to talk about that we've been doing that I'm really excited about, and I feel like I have a really good feeling about this, is I've been sticking to my guns. Nick has been hunting with me a lot, and I'm putting him in the good spots. And we've got a spot we call the co-op, and the co-op has been going pretty good so far. And you had a really cool hunt the other day.
Yep.
Bunch of deer all around you. I was down on the spot we call the river, and we had, that was a pretty good day for wind. It was a little calm, a little swirly. We got the 600 running, so we're golden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you experienced something, and we got a couple. That's the other. We got to talk about a couple of new nicknames we got for bucks. And this guy's got a nickname too. You forgot his nickname already.
I did.
Gosh, you son of a gun! Just because of that, you're gonna get the sound effect.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I get it right. Is this the right one? No.
Is this the right one? No. What about this one? Oh, yeah.
This buck's nickname is
Cheetah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Cheetah! Cheetah, gonna get ya.
Yeah.
his new nickname is Cheetah.
Yeah.
And why is his nickname Cheetah? Is because you experienced something that I've never seen. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening and you're watching, if you know what this is, we would love to know. We got to put a call into Jason, just ask him if there is a specific name for it.
Yeah.
But give us a play-by-play. What happened?
Yeah, so...
You'd seen Sporky that morning. That's another new buck we got, Sporky.
Yeah, Sporky.
Sporky's a spike forky.
Yeah, Sporky, he likes to come around.
He's a this.
Yeah.
He's this. He's like, and he's only split by like...
Just barely. Yeah.
He's almost an antlerless, but he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of rules the roost right now up there, it seems like.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I can just see him out there. Hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Don't be doing that.
Yeah, the other morning I saw him. He was making a rub on just like a little willow tree and some tall grass. And all of a sudden he picks his head up and looks kind of my way, and there's just grass all wrapped around his little forehead.
I imagine. Let me hear. I'll do this.
I'm gonna
do this. I imagine that Sporky has a voice like this.
Yo, my name's Sporky. Don't mess with me, man. I'm gonna rub up these trees. This is my place.
Yeah.
I've got a spike here. I got a forky here.
Yeah.
Sporky. And when I talk, my voice echoes.
Man, I am on top of sound effects today.
Yeah. But yeah, so I saw him that morning.
So he's making rubs.
yeah.
He's the one. He's our guy.
Yeah.
He was probably the one that was making that rub out in that little ditch out in the cornfield.
Probably he came from that way. But yeah, so I right at first light, I saw nice doe and sporky.
You got to say sporky.
Yeah. So they worked off, and then saw a really nice big doe come down the next ridge over. And then kind of as soon as she went away, 2 more does came, and she came along the motocross track, or they came along the motocross track, which, God, I thought they were going to walk right in.
Oh, man, I know.
I was getting really fired up, but they ended up going, and then they went to the next ridge as well. But as they're walking away, I turn back and look over, and there's a nice little buck standing on the dike, and he just slowly worked his way in, and it was kind of cool because I knew he was going to come real close once he kind of got into the woods.
Basically, we've got a tree stand, we've got a trail, and then there's a crossing trail.
Yeah.
And we've got a trail cam on that crossing trail.
Mm-hmm.
It basically comes from kind of one section of the farm to the other.
Yeah.
It's just a great transition area.
Yeah.
And there's a couple multiple ridges that kind of come together.
Yeah.
So he comes down the trail that's going to come right to you.
Yeah, yeah. So he's kind of working in real slow, and I just pulled my phone out and was just filming him with my phone. But as he's kind of getting close, I'm looking at him like, what in the heck is on his back? And he came right to the base of the tree, but he had like dots that lined his spine all on both sides, all the way back. And he's like a decent little basket rack.
He's a 1.5-year-old buck.
Yeah, I mean, he would not have had spots.
He wouldn't have fawn spots.
No, yeah.
And he wouldn't have been a buck. He wouldn't have been a buck's not going to throw a rack like that when he's a fawn.
Yeah, exactly.
And he didn't look like a fawn.
No,
Beautiful coat.
Yeah, really cool deer. His face, he's got a real blocky forehead.
Yeah, it's like his forehead has got like it's like just a block.
Yeah, he's a super cool looking deer. And I noticed that right away. As soon as he came into the woods and like I could get a good look at him, I'm like, oh man, that's a really cool looking deer. And all the white on him is like bright white.
His neck patch,
it
looks like a flashlight. It's just like, I said that too. I'm like, geez, look at his neck patch.
Yeah, he's a super, super pretty deer. I told Cole I almost shot him just so I could
Can you imagine
get a rug.
Can you imagine the rug on that guy?
Yeah, he was super cool. But yeah, he had dots all along his back. Like,
in a line.
Yeah.
Like a cheetah.
Yeah, it was super, super interesting, and I had never seen that before. But I looked it up, and it said it was like some rare genetic
Abnormality?
just, I don't know.
Yeah, we need to double check and figure out more what it might be. What I was really wanting to know is like, what's the probability? You know, like you think about like albinos and pieballs and things like that, and you're like, oh, the chances are this and this. I just really wonder. And the other thing I wonder too is will those spots just stay forever?
Right.
I mean, you know, I always joke about, man, sometimes you just wish you had a paintball gun. You could like put a purple dot on the side of a big doe so you know which one was her. Because sometimes the only way I've ever been able to tell a doe apart, I had a doe one time, I talked about this. Her ears were like, instead of being like this, they were like this.
Yeah.
They looked like a dog.
Yeah.
And they looked like stubbed. And not that they were broke, they were just like hung like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you always knew it was her.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, hopefully, if he comes close enough, a year or two from now, we'll definitely know it's him.
Yeah, it'd be super interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I hope that he keeps them. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Speaking of does, we had a picture of that doe with the white mark on her face the other night.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it at the same spot?
Nope, it was on the new spot on that northeast
Okay.
corner.
Yeah. But it's that same farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So that's the other thing we've been doing. We on a couple of the public spots, we set a couple new spots on the public spots. Mm-hmm. We got through kind of grit week and got things out 7 days before, and then there was a spot that was just irking my nerk a little bit. You had let me borrow your e-bike, and I was doing just some little recon action.
Yeah.
And came across this spot, and I'm like, geez, that looks good. We had talked about it, and last Sunday afternoon, it was windy, 30 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour gusts. It was windy, sustained winds of just windy.
Right.
Dust bowling everywhere, you know? And so I thought, you know what? This is a good day to I can kind of cover my sound. I'm going to go into that spot. So I named it Northwest Territories. And we had already had a camera in there, and that camera has been not very good.
Yeah.
Except for one day.
Yeah.
and it gave us a buck that we're pretty excited about too. I've named him the Canadian.
He's a giant.
He's a giant. And on the way in there, I saw some beds that were big. They looked like it could have been a cow.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what a white-tailed bed looks like? These were big, big beds. Like, it was bigger than a doe.
Yeah.
It was big. I mean, it was really big. I'm like, geez, oh, Pete. Like,
Right.
look at this stupid thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking around, I was like, there's no cat, like there's no cattle here. I'm like, there's none here. This is a deer bed. This is big.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he just like laid down on his side and was like, I'm just going to really take a nap.
Yeah.
But man, it was some big beds.
Yeah.
But that's where you're going tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Northwest Territories, baby.
I'm going to give her a shot.
Yep. Do a little morning set. Got a little southwest wind.
Yep.
You'll be right on the edge of where if your shooting is. So we're gonna have the 600 running, and then depending on how it goes, that camera has been really slow. So you're gonna do a little quick little scout.
Yeah.
Not try to like tromp all over, but just check a couple spots.
See if we can find something.
See if we can find a good scraper, a good rub.
Yeah.
That would be like, hey, okay, there's obviously some bucks coming right through here.
Yeah.
And see what we go. Now that spot is definition, bedding, water, feed.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully you can see some deer at least.
maybe we can find one of those holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, get a little closer to it.
So don't mean to interrupt, but I gotta say this. Cousin Benny,
We got 2 announcements. 3 announcements. Hold on a second.
oh yeah.
3 announcements. Sorry for the delay there. We could have just paused it, but we're trying to keep it real time, so we had to make sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give us a little harvest report. Got some congratulations in order. 100%.
So a couple podcasts ago, I talked about Benny having a really good encounter with.
2 Fridays ago. It was 2 Fridays ago.
Well, yeah, I know. I was saying a couple podcasts ago, I talked about.
I thought you meant when he killed it.
No. A couple podcasts ago, I talked about Benny kind of playing a little cat and mouse with nice buck that they had for him that they've been watching all summer. Like Cole just said, 2 Fridays ago, he was able to put an arrow in him, and he got him. So
Got him.
It was pretty freaking awesome.
Knocked him down.
Yep. I drove home very fast at about 9:30 at night, made her home by like midnight so I could go and help him and be a part of it.
The funniest part about that is we went to a high school football game. So it would be like my wife's second cousin.
Yeah.
He's a junior and he plays for West Hancock.
Yeah.
West Hancock's like rated like number 2 in Class A or whatever. They're pretty
Yeah.
good. And so we go to this high school football game. I really wanted to watch him play.
Yeah.
It was their homecoming, wasn't it? Yeah, it was their homecoming. And so we went to the game. Well, it was like the middle of the first quarter, and you get a call. No, it was right. We were walking in.
Walking in.
Yeah.
We're like right at the gate.
Yeah, we pay to get in, and we gets a call, and so you were doing the old pace job along the fence.
Yeah.
You come over. Everything good? What's score? Okay, I gotta make a call. And then he was on because they didn't find it right away.
No, we did. They didn't find it till next morning.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. And it was a liver shot, right?
Liver. Straight liver.
Yep. And yeah, so but they did the right thing, and they went in doubt, back out.
Yep.
And then they went in there and they called it a guy that had a dog, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then you kind of got to trust the dog, and then they went through the process of that.
Yep.
And then they found it.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So they went in there at 9:00, trailed him to where
9 p.m.
Yep, 9 p.m. They trailed him to where he could last see him, and the blood kind of dried up, whatever. So they backed out. Like 10:20. Benny gets a picture of him 400 yards away, and so they're like, "Well, he's hurting really bad." I mean, to go 400 yards in an hour and 20 minutes, they assume that they bumped him right when they got there.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, he's got to be hurting really bad. I mean, that's not a very far way to go. I mean, a healthy deer could go 400 yards like lickety split, like about a minute, maybe even under. But so couldn't find him, called the dog, and it was super huge that we got a picture of him. This is just crazy because the guy's like, well, we'll just take the dog up there. So we take the dog up, instantly find blood. It was kind of interesting, that dog. It's just so hard because they it was a high traffic area, so the dog got kind of a wrong trail. So she went the complete opposite way of what me and Benny were kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So we brought her back, and sure enough, we found him dead probably 50, 60 yards from the spot where we got a trail cam picture of him. So just an awesome morning. It was so fun. Just a great day.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And like I said, it's good because, like I said, he'd been hunting pretty hard. And like I said, I feel like that's a perfect example. And I mentioned this to you last night. We were driving back. This time of year can get a little stressful. It can get a little discouraging. It can get a little bit, all of a sudden you start questioning.
Yep.
Like, well, what am I doing? Am I doing anything wrong? I'm going out hunting, not seeing anything. You anticipate the season for so long. And then when it finally gets here, and then things can go your way or things don't go your way.
Right.
And for Benny, it kind of had gone both.
Yeah.
He felt like kind of things were going his way, and then it kind of felt like they weren't going his way.
Yeah.
And it seems like we all hit some sort of the arc of a story. There's some sort of adversity.
Yeah, exactly.
And you hit that. And sometimes you have to just grit your teeth and get through it.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to reevaluate what you're doing and do something different. Sometimes your goals change. The neighbor kills the buck you're after.
Yeah, exactly.
The buck you're after gets hit on the road. All of a sudden, he just disappears. You don't see him on camera anymore.
Yeah.
That's just the way the season goes.
Yep.
This time of year, and that's a perfect example where you just have to stick in.
Yeah, and I'm
Keep hunting and just try to stay positive, and you never know when you look to your right and there he is.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm super proud of Benny too. I mean, I think he just played all those situations really, really well. I mean, he learned from the deer. He put everything kind of together.
Yep.
He hunted super smart, and it all came together. And I'm super stoked for him. It was awesome.
One of the things I wanted to mention too, I think this is just a fun fact, and about deer anatomy. And you saw this with me on opening morning, October 1st. I shot a deer, it was quartering two really hard, like right down in front of me. And I made a shot like basically between her neck and her shoulder, went down in and kind of went in, then kind of pushed back out.
Yeah.
One of the things you got to remember, and we'll put up a picture, I'm going to ask you to do this.
Yeah.
Picture of a deer's anatomy.
Okay.
If you have a deer broadside, not quartering to, not quartering away, and you shoot it a little back, not guts, but not right behind the crease of the shoulder, and you hit it back.
Yeah.
And you hit it kind of like, if this is the deer and here's his front leg, here's his head, and you, instead of hitting him right here, you kind of hit him like right here. Mm-hmm. That's a liver shot.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I think a lot of people don't realize or think about, because I feel like I hear this about liver shots a lot, you know what I mean? Some of the characteristics, liver shots, are going to see really dark red blood.
Yep.
Which can be kind of deceiving, because if you don't know, you're like, wow, look at the blood. Heck yeah. But you're not seeing red, frothy, bubbled blood.
Yeah.
Okay, first. A lot of times you'll see a deer that'll run away and then they'll kind of stove up. Just like in boxing, if you see a guy take a liver shot, man, if you get a liver shot, you'll see those guys, it'll knock a guy out. He'll just go down the ground like, oh, it's extremely painful.
Right.
And so that's what it's like for a deer.
Yeah. You
just see them kind of stove up. They put their tail down. They'll kind of run off and they'll stop. You know what I mean? And then he'll just kind of, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like, and that's a lot what Benny's deer did.
That's exactly what he did.
Yes. But the other thing that I wanted to say that's kind of the interesting fact is if he is broadside like that and you just go straight through one way and the other, and you saw this with that deer on October 1st, when I shot it like this, that arrow went in and it heart-lung, right? But it did not puncture the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Between their vitals and their guts is their diaphragm. Their diaphragm basically keeps the pressure for their heart and lungs. Do you follow me? When we gutted that doe on October 1st, I gutted her and I pulled out the intestines, and you could see her chest cavity, her diaphragm was sucked up because the pressure had not gone out.
Right.
And you saw me, I took my knife and go, hey, watch this. I poked it and you hear it go, psh.
Yep.
You follow me?
Yep.
When you shoot a deer broadside on a liver shot, you're not popping that diaphragm. So his heart and lungs are still completely functional.
Yeah.
You have to let that deer just die naturally.
Yeah.
You follow me? Too often times guys see the red dark blood and the red blood and a good blood trail, and they're like, oh yeah, heck yeah, they go after it. Well, that deer is vascularly completely functional.
Yeah.
And he's like, see ya. And he is Gandhi.
Yeah.
He's in pain, but he doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
So he's going to run off, and then you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Because that blood will dry up.
Yeah.
So when it's that liver hit, especially broadside, you have to ask yourself, if you did hit back, do I think I popped that diaphragm?
Yeah.
Where did I hit? If it was quartering to and I kind of went in and came out back, well, then you probably popped the diaphragm.
Yeah.
If he was quartering away and you hit kind of back and came out forward, you popped the diaphragm. It's losing that lung pressure. Do you follow me?
Right.
And it's a lot harder deal for that deer. It's like you're really sinking in the plow.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you follow me?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't hit that diaphragm and he still has his lung and hearts, like you almost like just unhook the plow and he's just running full bore trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, part of what happened with Benny is like that diaphragm wasn't popped.
Yeah.
And the lung and heart still need to do a thing, but the liver, it filters their blood.
Yeah.
Just like ours does. And it's just a sad way to go.
Yeah.
But it's bow hunting, you know? And you know what's funny is, it's not funny, but it's funny, I feel like I have a lot of experience with liver shots because as a recurve guy, my arrow was flying so slow. You follow me? And penetration for a traditional bow hunter is at the most.
Yeah.
But I inherently, what I did is I would not, like with my compound, I hug it hard. I hug it really hard. You saw me last year. I've shot right through the shoulders of whitetails. I'll hug it. I'll break them down. But with my recurve, I would not hold so tight. Do you follow me? Because I knew my margin for error was bigger. And so if I wasn't careful and I hit the shoulder with a recurve bow, done.
Yeah.
So I would find myself liver hitting a lot of deer.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say if you're listening to this, just if you get a liver hit, just back out, give it some time, establish where you think it was, get on your phone. There's a lot of times if I'm like, just you did that the other day, you had a doe that walked through and you're like, yeah, I was at 50 yards. You took a picture.
Yeah.
And you could have gone back up in that stand later if you would have shot it and we would have gone back in there. You could have gone in the stand and been like, see that tree like that?
Yeah.
That's where she was.
Right.
But it's so hard after your mind slows down. You're like, oh man, what happened? Where was it?
Right.
I think it was that tree, but it kind of looks like that one. And so, but yeah, liver hits are funny.
Yeah. And I think it was just
So that's a long thing, but I think it's important.
yeah. And a big thing too, a liver hit. The guy was the dog tractor is super cool. He was telling us he's like if minimum 4 to 6 hours.
Exactly.
Minimum, absolutely minimum. And I think if they would have waited, I think they would have probably found him in his first bed just because he was moving so stinking slow.
I hit a doe in the liver, not last year, but the year before with my compound. And I just hit a little back. And, you know, she kind of jumped up and came down and she ran and she stopped and stoved up. And she was like 70 or 80 yards away. She stoved up and then she bedded right down. And I was like, oh man, that's totally a liver hit.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I watched her. It was in the morning. So I watched her and I had the wind right. And I'm like, I could sit here for 4 to 6 hours. You mean, or it was getting to be like, I need to, you know, I needed to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I know where she is. I'm going to get down real quiet and slow and I'm going to get out of here. So I changed my plans around and I literally did the same thing. It was like 6 hours. I came in like later in the afternoon, like late afternoon. I walked in there. She was literally dead in the bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
But it's easy to accidentally bump them and then everything goes haywire.
Well, and I think with Benny's situation too, what I probably think is happening, because when he shot, he's like, dude, I thought I absolutely drilled it. My guess, he was perfectly broadside. My guess is his front leg was back just a little bit, and it probably just looked like he hammered it. But if that front leg's forward and you hit it in that same spot, it's going to look like you hit him back.
And that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. And you hear me talk a lot about that. For me personally, what I've gotten to doing the last how many years is when a deer walks in and I know that I'm going to do it, I always, in that moment, I think forward, back. And if its leg is back and I'm at full draw, if it's quartering away, I'll do it. But if it's broadside or quartering to, a leg back is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Because one, it's putting its shoulder blade down.
Yeah.
And two, a leg back, to your point, generally that's going to be a liver hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's great to have that leg straight down or leg forward because it really opens itself up a lot more. But yeah, you have to be really aware of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think as a young person, when I first started bow hunting, I never thought about that at all.
Yeah.
I just was like, deer, shoulder, shoot.
Yeah,
I never thought about where it was. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And I remember, I was somewhere and somebody asked me like, so what was it, shoulder forward or backwards? I was like, I don't know. Its leg was on the ground. I mean, I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So yeah, just that shoulder and that leg forward or back can make a big difference too. But the other big congratulations we have, drum roll,
Andrew.
Andy. I don't know if you go by Andy, but hey, I'm calling you Andy.
Yep.
Andrew got on the board.
Yep. Andrew.
And you know what? That was deer number 2. I didn't even know that was deer number 2.
Yep. Deer number 2. Andrew, he was on the podcast. When was that? Oh, well, it must have been after Iowa Deer Classic.
Yeah, it was obviously if it was
that's
before.
where we met him.
If it was before that, then our times are. Then I am a time traveler.
Yeah, I'm getting messed up here, but
It was
yeah,
after. Yep, we met him at the Iowa Deer Classic. He's kind of new to bow hunting. He said he walked up and just said he liked listening to the podcast.
yeah,
I mean, he said that I have a very captivating voice and personality, and said that he could just tell that, I probably did some modeling at some point.
Yep.
Hand modeling, that is,
yep,
because I have pretty hands.
yeah,
No, I'm just kidding. No, so met him at the Iowa Deer Classic, and we got to know him, and we had him on the pod, and smoked one.
shot a great buck.
Yeah.
Super cool buck. It's a unicorn buck, actually.
Yeah. Above his left eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, it's not like here's his rack and then, there's just a really cool point off of it. No, it's like there's a good substantial distance between the horn and where his eye is. In the middle is a unicorn point.
yeah. It's super cool.
Could you imagine getting in a fight with that thing? Oof. That guy would be like, probably do a big buck, like really go for it, because this thing is going right in your eye hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, that's like definition eye guard.
Yep. No, it's super cool. I'm pumped for him.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations, man. That's so awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, we talked about it. We had a Wisconsin harvest report, we had an Central Iowa harvest report, PA harvest report.
Yep.
Big old, he's not big or old, but Jason Mears.
Yep.
Getting on the board with a buck that he's had quite a bit of history with. I need to give him a text and tell him congratulations. I saw it on Instagram.
Heck of a nice buck.
He made a comment. I don't know if you saw that one picture. He's like, I don't care if you're getting tired of these pictures because I'm going to keep posting them. He's like, yeah.
As he should. That's a beautiful deer.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deer.
Yeah.
Yep. And his boy shot a nice buck.
Yep.
And his boy shot a nice doe.
Yeah, he's having a good year.
Yeah, dude, he's getting after it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deer. Sound like deer that he'd had some history with, and looked like an old deer.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
I don't know.
cool to see somebody shooting them.
At least somebody's getting something.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh no. Yeah, no, it's going to be fine, dude. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, dude.
I do this every year. It's funny because I have this conversation with my brother-in-law. I feel like every year he gets to be this time and he always will be like, so how many times you been out? It's usually like 9 times. How many deer you seen? 4. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I haven't even got my camo out of my tote yet. So, I still got to go set stands.
Yeah.
and then, 3 weeks after that, he calls me and he's got a cranker. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's nice. But yeah, like I said, I just like hunting, so I got to get out there.
Yeah.
And it's a good time to doe patrol. A lot of does
exactly.
walking around.
Yep.
But yeah, man, listen, I said I wasn't going to say it. I'm not going to say the word. The October, it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, we've talked about a lot today. We've talked about the October. I'm not doing the whole thing now. We did a little rut report action. We did a little harvest report action. We talked about cheetah. We talked about Sporky. We talked about the Canadian. We talked about number 9, Johnson.
World Traveler.
Talked about World Traveler.
Yeah.
We talked about
Anatomy.
We talked about liver shots, anatomy. We talked about if you can find that honey hole where that buck is holed up.
Get in there.
Get it? Yeah. Well, that sounded weird. We talked about equal opportunity hunting. Hey, listen. This is not important at all, but you got a new piece of hunting apparel today. Lunchkey. Carhartt stocking cap. They're going to be
beanie.
They're going to be sporting during the fall.
I need a beanie. I lost mine last year shed hunting somehow.
But you need another glove too.
Yep, and I've already down one glove.
It's already down a glove in less than a week. Oh,
Guarantee you, it's sitting right on the field road where we always park. Maybe.
I'll tell you what. There's something else happening next week that I'm pretty excited about.
Save it.
Save it.
Save it.
Oh man, it's a tough one.
Save it.
Oh,
Save it. It'll be a big reveal.
Oh man, this weekend will be really fun though. I was telling Nick before the podcast. My little boy Jet, he came up to me this morning. I was like completely out of it. He was jumping around the kitchen. He comes up to me, literally. So where are you, me, and Nick hunting tomorrow? He was gung ho. So we're got to go out tomorrow afternoon. We got a good plan for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do a public spot tomorrow morning. Gonna hunt, try to maybe rattle right away, see if we can stir something up, and then doe patrol it a little bit. And if that doesn't work out, you're gonna do a little scout action, and I'll do a little scout action on my way out. Then probably get a little lunch ski, maybe a little 7-star, a little breakfast.
Yep.
Then we've got a plan, an afternoon plan for a southwest wind.
Yep.
There's a double ladder for Jet and I. That's going to be fun because Jet will be all about it, and we'll be able to kind of see you and you can see us, but from quite a distance, and should be good. You're going to be doing the first saddle hunt of the year.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm excited.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And like you said, dude, we're T-minus. Dude, we got to be T-minus 10 to 15 days from everything going boom goes the dynamite.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Gotta be.
Yep, for sure.
Gotta be.
Yep.
All right, I say we wrap it up. Thanks for listening today. Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. That's a wrap. That's it. The October isn't real. Stay classy.
See you next week.
Mic drop.